All right, I've got a real doozy for you guys tonight. Was Gibson even allowed to make this? It's listed on Reverb by Ben's Gear Outlet over in the UK. And look at that, it's a Zakk Wylde bullseye guitar. You don't see these as often anymore, as he decided to go to his own company, Wylde Audio, to do a whole bunch more fun designs at slightly more affordable price points, utilizing Schecter. He and Gibson first linked up around 1999 to create this signature edition guitar, and they sold a whole boatload of these things because that is such an iconic piece, whether you enjoy his playing styles or not. We've actually documented a #1 on the show, but these went from 1999 all the way until 2016. But the one we see here, it's lefty, which is mind-blowing in and of itself. You don't see this every day. However, I think I might have seen another one of these at one point in time, but it's kind of cool anyway. But there's a little bit of redness going on here. I wonder what reacted to our nitro. But my friends, the lefty is actually not even part of this discussion. It's when the guitar was produced. So this is labeled Custom Shop 100071. Now, the way you read these on a regular custom shop model, this first digit tells you what the year ends in. If you only have 4 digits, you know it's from the 90s. If you have 5 digits, it's from the 2000s. If it has 6 digits, that's when things get a little bit confusing. I think Gibson needed to add another number because this can be 2010s, or it can be 2020s. You might be asking, how do you know? You have to go based on context clues, what type of COA it has, whose signatures are on it, any other case candy that might be present, as well as the case. This is a 2021 produced guitar because that's the only time they use this case, which means, can Gibson even make this anymore? Like, I get it. They own the Les Paul, but this is Zakk's own iconic design that they don't necessarily own. I really don't know how that would go down in the court of law. But according to the seller, this was custom ordered from Gibson, with all the Zakk Wylde appointments, including the paint job. But this right here, I'm curious if that's how they got away with it, because they changed it up enough from the signature guitar. Because the backside of the neck of those are 3 pieces maple, and typically they're plain. Sometimes you get a little bit of flame just in the wood grain lottery, but usually it's always just a 3-piece maple neck to play off of his original Grail guitar. Whereas this one's a little bit cheeky. They added the walnut laminations in between, so it's technically a 5-piece neck at this point, and it is heavily figured, which is just absolutely fantastic. The lefties can rejoice today. They have a really cool guitar that's being offered to them. But don't get too excited, it's rather expensive, but he is open to offers, with an asking price of about $11,500 shipped to you in the United States. Now, ideally, we could see more case candy, because it's possible somebody swapped the case and it truly is a 2011, and in that case, it's not necessarily special outside of the neck. However, this is what a 2011 would look like. It would originally have the Gibson Custom Shop case. It has that beautiful burgundy interior. I love those cases, they're pretty cool. And the COA would say Gibson Custom on the outside, but most importantly, it would still have the Rick Gembar signature. I remember that was a big day in the Henry J era when he was let go. And when I was first planning this episode out, I thought, man, it's just barely cut off, we can't see. No, that's the full photo. You're only missing a little bit right there. There's no signature on this one. So yeah, I'm very confident this was made outside of the general 1999 to 2016 production run. I'm very curious how this got approved, because usually Gibson doesn't remake limited editions done before unless they're wanting to do an updated release, like on the Greeny Les Paul or something. But if illegal Zakk Wylde guitars are your thing, Mike and Mike's Guitar Bar has this interesting 1996 Les Paul Standard listed in their shop. Now this one, it's not a factory job, but to see this done up on a Standard is kind of interesting. You don't have the gold hardware. They opted to leave it chrome, matches nicely with our frets. Looks like they opted for the top hat style knobs. But I will say, whoever did the paintwork on that, they did a pretty good job, just based on my memory without actually comparing it to anything. It looks to me that the circles might be slightly thinner, and surprisingly, the dark rosewood fretboard pulls it off okay, as well as our headstock. I think it'd be really cool if Zakk and Gibson could partner up again again under new ownership, because I think a Grail Standard would be pretty sweet out of the Gibson originals and still offer the other Schecter things. He's a big enough of a name, he's got the leverage. But that's not the only reason I'm sharing this one. I am a big fan of the back. It still has the yellow grain fill that you're used to seeing like from the 80s, but something about that mixed with the 90s wood just looks really good to my eyes. I do believe they are saying it is the original one. However, pay close attention here, and they were saying it was initially meant for a Japan limited run. Is it legit? Did they actually do this? No. According to them, this started life as a gold top and then somebody did the refinishing work. But I wonder if part of the limited specs for this Japanese run is the yellow grain fill, because I just don't remember seeing that on 90s era standards, and it looks so cool, especially with the darkness of that wood. But let's double check here, because I don't mess with 90s era standards. I think the early 2000s is better. Yeah, see, this is what I'm more so used to seeing. That had to have been a special spec. That's actually a really cool limited edition run. And that's the problem with a lot of those LEs. It's not always known what was different about them, but I think we nailed that. They were going for an 80s Les Paul standard. But hey, even this vintage Sunburst one has some interesting wood grain. I would not mind finding one of those that hasn't been refinished, but the price tag on this one is $4,000. However, it's very important to know you gotta look through these photos because it hides really, really well. It does indeed have a headstock repair. Let's see, Guitar Chimp listed this one once. Is it the run we're looking for? Yeah, sure enough. I will make the argument this one doesn't look quite as cool as the other one we were looking at, but yeah. Yellow grain fill, man, such an experience. Yeah, there you can see it. I just found one on another site. Maybe it was a different run, because remember, there were tons of these small limited edition runs in the 90s. This one doesn't look like it has it. Keeping along our theme of things that feel illegal within Gibson, there's a 2014 Gibson Explorer Standard offered by Tone Wolf. This reminds me of a Dean or a Hamer. They've really added that figured top to the Explorer, dressed it up a little bit in the inlay department. This thing looks like a whole lot of fun, but it certainly doesn't look like a Gibson. At least not the typical Gibson Explorer, you see. I like that we don't have a pick guard on it, and it's got the toggle switch, and somebody's thrown in these double cream pickups just to amplify the illegalness. Even though lately Gibson has been utilizing them on many of official models, but that's just a nice top and great coloration. However, it is quite a pricey beast. $8,000. But since we don't have a pick guard, we have to utilize an additional backplate. But it looks like it's got the chunky 58 style construction, just being mahogany, and they threw the aniline dies on there just for fun. Maybe a little bit too much fun, as it's eating the custom shop decal. I suppose that's the nice thing about our black serial number. You don't have to worry about that as much. The white ones you do. Oh yeah, I called it. Billed as a 58 Explorer F for flame top. Can you imagine if that was Carina? That would be fun. But our last one for tonight is one of the most non-Gibsons I think I've ever seen. Billed as a 2024 Access Custom in 5A quilt with EMG's translucent amber finish. So first things first, it's not as fashionable to love EMG pickups nowadays. Just from the feel of the environment on what things come new with nowadays, it seems Fishmans are the go-to. But 80s, 90s, all the way into like the early 2010s or so, you'd see EMGs thrown in everything. And generally speaking, putting EMGs in your Les Paul, if you're trying to sell it, is not a good idea aftermarket. And the reason for that is they come with different electronics. So if somebody puts EMGs in a guitar and you think, oh, I'm just gonna buy it, put passives in, it's not a big deal. Just please know, you also have to redo the wiring. So it's not just a pickup change cost if you don't know how to do it yourself. You have to do the wiring. But this one left the factory with EMGs. But next we get the Floyd Rose. That's either going to be a love it or leave it spec, but this is fairly standard for an Access Custom. But then next we get this blinding yellow finish. Like, it's not neon, it's got a little bit more honey vibes in there. But just to top all this dandelion stuff off, we got this nice wide quilt top, which may be not my preferred color choice, but I bet it would look pretty nice in person. But then when you flip it over to the back, it's just a dark rustic mahogany. It looks like they used more of a dark brownish grain fill to bring out the whole rusticness. But the Access Customs, if you're not familiar, there is a comfort cut right here, so you can rest your belly and it rests against you better. And then as far as your playability, they have a little bit of a comfort swoop there, and the whole body itself, if you look right here, it's slightly thinner. This photo helps you appreciate both of those areas just a little bit more. But current day produced ones utilize an ebony fretboard, and you still have a mahogany neck. But one more surprise up here, we've got our volute. This is a very, very, very non-traditional one. Not saying that an Access Custom in general is the most traditional, but they really pushed the bill on this one. But due to that, I would say it doesn't look half bad. But you might have to be breaking the law to afford that one at $9,000. All right, Troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed our fun illegal episode, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care.